Hi, it's Rabbi Lewis wishing you an early Shabbat shalom. And I know some of you are probably thinking this is not nearly as exciting a location as some of the ones I've been sending messages from recently. But, it is Shabbat, and, it is just as meaningful wherever we are on the globe. In some ways, perhaps it's easier to feel a spiritual and deep connection when you are in the Jewish homeland, when you are perhaps, watching a beautiful sunset on the Mediterranean Sea and celebrating Shabbat at the same time. Place can certainly be an enhancement, but it is not a requirement for, honoring this Sabbath day. Rabbi Heschel, Abraham Joshua Heschel, famously wrote about building a palace in time, and that's what Shabbat is meant to be. And that means wherever you go, you pause, not because you're in the right spot, but because that is the moment that the Jewish people collectively come together to honor this commandment. In our Torah portion, it talks about commandments that are given in the wilderness, and that if you are to continue keeping these commandments, then there will be great reward, that the proper rains will come in their season, and so on. What's more important than the reward piece of this is that the commandments are given in the wilderness with full awareness that that's not going to be the location where the Israelites will be for the rest of time. They're eventually going to be settled in the promised land. Later will become scattered around the world, and it's not about the place, but it's about the time when these commandments are then done and fulfilled. And in some ways, that's really a benefit to us, because when it's easy to follow a commandment because you have the trigger of the location or the ease of knowing exactly where it's going to happen and the consistency, then we perhaps don't have to put in as much work. But if we're focused on the time, there's a little bit more effort that goes into it. And the effort that goes into the mitzvah means that it's not about waiting for the treat because we've been good. It's about gaining the benefit of celebrating the mitzvah, especially of Shabbat. There's a great, Jewish story about a king who wants to decorate his banquet hall, and he hires 4 artists to decorate each wall, and gives them like 3 weeks. And the first 3 artists get to work. The 4th artist sits back and contemplates what he's going to do. And the first one paints, a lush scene of forest vegetation. The second paints sort of like a desert oasis with the sun setting. The third paints an image of the Garden of Eden filled with all of the animals and representing the act of creation. And the fourth has waited until the very last minute and then decides, I'm just going to get a big mirror and set it up on my wall, and it's going to reflect the artwork of the other 3. It'll be just as beautiful as any one of them, and more beautiful because it encapsulates all 3 of them together. And so when the king comes in and inspects their work, gives it some thought, takes a bag of money, places it in front of the first wall, places another bag of money in front of the second wall, and a third bag of money in front of the third wall. And the 4th artist is like, hey, what gives? Where's my bag of money? And the king says, well, for the amount of your work shall also be your reward. You see the reflection of those money bags there in your mirror. That's your payment. And so we learn that, the reward of a mitzvah is not just about the rote act of doing it, of creating the image or doing the thing. It can be about the effort that we put into it. And so even though our Torah portion promises, rain if we follow God's commandments, or just general benefits, and Reform ideology has rightly had issues with that particular notion, we can certainly appreciate that because we are focused on when we're doing things and not the where and the ease of having the proper tools or quote unquote proper places around us, that it causes us to put more effort. That again, it's not waiting for the treat for having been good. It's for enjoying the moment and for enjoying the act of sharing that time and honoring that time together. And I really think that that's a great lesson from this Torah portion and from my recent experiences. No, this is this is not Israel, this is Signal Mountain. I'm not going to be on the banks of the Mediterranean Sea. I'm going to be at 923 Macaulay tonight, and it will be no less meaningful and no less exciting. Why? For the simple fact that it is Friday night, it is Shabbat. We're going to build our palace in time, and collectively we're going to be putting extra effort into gathering in that space, to having a meaningful First Friday Shabbat dinner, celebrating a family service with the children involved and everybody singing joyfully together. And that in and of itself will be our reward. So good to be back. Wishing you all a healthy and happy Shabbat Shalom. And I'll talk to you very soon.